Hi everyone, it's great to be here. I'm Carlijn Williams. I head the marketing for Enterprise Campus Edge at Nokia. And as an industry, we've been talking a lot about the benefits of Industry 4.0. You see some of them here, right? It will increase worker safety, reduce energy, reduce emissions. But how much are we actually talking? Do we have the numbers to back that up? So let me ask you a question. I don't know how many manufacturers or how many of you have deployed actually a private wireless or an industrial edge network? Not so many early adopters here, but luckily we have them out there. Because we did a research together with global data among 79 of the early adopters in the industry. And now we have some of the numbers. So these early adopters were from mature companies like Japan, Australia, the UK, Germany, etc. And all of them were multinationals. And we asked them, what did you see when you deploy a private wireless and an industrial edge network? And this is the percentage of the population that actually saw an over 10% increase or decrease, depending on the objective. So you can see 95% of the early adopters saw an increase in worker safety, of worker collaboration of over 10%. Another one I wanted to call out, and Kim mentioned it as well, is worker safety. Super important to invest. The number one driver for many industries to invest in private wireless and industrial edge and the applications that will bring accidents down and improve worker safety. So that's also what we saw. 61% of the early adopters saw a massive decrease in accident and improvement in worker safety, so over 10%. Energy reductions, another one I wanted to call out. We all know massive cost increases are related to energy. So 48% of the early adopters saw an over 10% reduction in energy when deploying private wireless. Emission reductions, not on the slide, but about 70% of the early adopters saw an over 10% decrease. So again, many of the numbers are there. One other thing to mention is the ROI, because we get a lot of questions usually. What is the business case for private wireless and industrial edge? What do I need in order to get my business case approved? So some of these numbers will help early majority moving into this area now to get the business case approved, because actually 80% of the early adopters saw an ROI within 6 months and 21% saw an ROI within a month. So we're talking about remote control and Industry 4.0 use cases today. So how can you relate the reduction in, or the improvement in business benefits to use cases? What do you deploy to achieve some of these benefits? There's no one size fits all, but I've clustered the 4 main groups of industry use cases that we see deployed a lot, and then I've tried to relate it back to what do you get when you deploy it. So the first group of applications is more content to the worker, AR and VR. So these are ruggedized devices and handhelds, which basically enable the workers to get all the data they need on their handhelds. So basically a walking control room, if you'd like. Of course, worker collaboration is increased, and AR and VR maintenance we see used a lot as well. I have some cases on that in a minute in the chemical industry. The second group of applications is mobile robots and AGVs. So basically intelligent robots that are situational aware. And we see a lot of productivity increases there as well. I have a case on that in discrete manufacturing in a minute, but also a reduction in energy costs. If you connect your AGV or intelligent robot to a private wireless network compared to a Wi-Fi network, you will save about 20% energy cost. That's a Nokia number we've calculated based on the usage, etc. And of course, worker safety, because a mobile robot can easily go through a hazardous area, and often they don't miscalculate a corner like a human would. So you see the impact there. Video analytics and camera vision, so intelligent cameras, again, situational awareness. Site security is the #1 use case, why this is being deployed. So, and you can imagine that site security goes up, but also productivity. So one worker in a port can monitor maybe 3 screens normally, but if you put video analytics on top of that, then suddenly that same security guard could monitor 35 screens. So it's used widely already in CCTV, but we see this adoption now also in manufacturing sites, ports, etc. Quality improvement, another data point here is 69% of the early adopters, when deploying video analytics in their production line, saw an over 10% increase in quality. So you see a lot of various benefits there as well. Then condition monitoring digital twin, the final group of applications I wanted to call out, and often these are connected, right? Because if you put a sensor on your machine or your pipe and you monitor the quality, or you monitor the temperature or the humidity or whatever you want to know, you can start to get the data. And if you have the data, you can map it back into your digital twin type of application. One other data point I want to call out there is if you do predictive analytics in, for example, a remote drill in a mine, then you can see a 33% reduction in downtime. Once you start to combine all these use cases, we get to something called an industrial metaverse. And at Bell Labs, we build a farm where autonomous drones, powered by video analytics, could monitor the condition of those plants. So you can see mobile robot, video analytics, condition monitoring, all combined into one. But you need one thing. You need a private wireless network, 4.9G, 5G, but also a mission-critical industrial edge with local compute facility in order to make it work. My slides have a will of their own, apparently, but now I'm going forward. So let's bring this to life. And this is a little bit of a homage to the early adopters in the industry. And what do we see in process manufacturing, for example, now? And these are two use cases I wanted to call out that we've done with the first one with our partner Kyndryl for a chemical manufacturing facility, petrochemical manufacturing, across 20 square miles, one of the largest ones in the Western Hemisphere. And their intention was to go paperless completely. So in ATEX environments, they have provided handheld devices and iPads and ruggedized devices to their workers, so all the data is at their fingertips. There's no remote control room, or they have it in their hands, basically. Another project we did here in Tarragona, actually, was with our partner Cellnex on a 1 square kilometer chemical manufacturing site. It's BASF, actually, I can call it out. And they are one of the early adopters. They have a 4G, 5G SA network deployed with core edge and centralized core. And they have a wide range of use cases deployed there, license plate recognition, but also real-time vehicle guidance, AR maintenance, content to the worker. The chemical industry is making rapid progress. And there's actually, sorry, my slides have, in there you see a QR code which has the pulse of the chemical industry, which is an industry research we did about what are the best practices and use cases in chemical industry. So go and download it if you're interested in this industry in particular. So let me take you to discrete manufacturing then, and what is happening out there. So this is a case we did together with Turk Telecom. Arçelik is one of the early adopters in the industry. And 2 years ago, they were the first in Turkey to deploy a commercial private wireless 4.9G LTE network. And you can hear Pinar Köse Kulaş, the Director of Innovation, later on in this summit. But here's a snapshot of their success story. So they have a commercial network of AGVs, autonomous guided vehicles, live in their manufacturing sites. So they bring supplies to the production line. And they could see if they use private wireless instead of a Wi-Fi network, then actually the cycle time goes up by 25%. That means that the AGVs are faster through their circuit. And you know, there's other efficiencies there as well. You see one of the AGVs on screen here. So one of the key benefits, and she will talk more about this as well, is once you have that digital foundation in place, that private wireless network in place, then you can deploy a wide range of other use cases as well. So in the second half of 22, they started 8 different other cases, drones in the warehouse, mobile robots to alert workers on health and safety. So you can see you can build from there. Mentioned 2 manufacturing categories, process manufacturing, chemical industry, as well as discrete. But let's go to ports. So digital ports is a massive, we see massive progress there. And I guess ports have 2 main problems. One's, how do I get as many movements through my port as possible, and how can I do that with the lowest possible costs? So we've done a calculation as well that when you start deploying autonomous use cases like semi-autonomous cranes, drones that calculate the number of containers on a ship, then actually you start to see massive productivity increases. 28% for the average port was the calculation we did. And what does that mean? Nearly 900,000 containers a year can be put through the port when you have that digital foundation in place. Some other benefits there. So Jason Plents from Verizon is one of our key partners, and Jason is in the panel later. He can talk more about ports, but I wanted to call out one of the early adopters, and that is Associated British Port, the Port of Southampton. In the UK, they were the first one to deploy a 5G network, and they have made massive progress since. That was about 2 years ago, and one of the key things they are using now was asset tracking, because they know exactly what cars, it's a main car port, what cars are where and how long are they staying. And if the fleet of Teslas coming into the UK doesn't move within 24 hours, they get a fine. So concluding then, we have the numbers of the early adopters. We see an over 10% improvement with many of the early adopters we asked. There is a QR code there if you want to download the full report, get all the data on ROI, and all these different benefits. Please go ahead and do that. But again, you do need a private wireless connectivity and a mission-critical industrial edge together, because then once you have the local compute facility on-prem to process the data in real time, then you can deploy a wide range of use cases and see all the benefits. But of course, nothing is possible without the ecosystem of partners, like I mentioned. The partners like Kyndryl, Cellnex, Verizon, but also the early adopters I mentioned, like Arçelik and the Associated British Ports. So with that, I'm around later if you want to if you have any questions. But with that, I think a lot of the questions will be answered by your panel. I'd like to invite for the panel. Thank you very much.